I wanted to start doing some more poetry again after a recent conversation that I had had with my cousin Riley. And ever since that conversation, I've been trying to do poetry every day. And I think it's been getting easier and easier the more time that I've had with it. Here it goes, bear with me. The poem is titled I Seek to Be Still. Silence. One thing most people are afraid of. The chatter is still. Calm washes over, and I feel like I have just been cleansed. I watch, I observe, I am present. My senses are awake as the sun covers my face, and the warmth being provided comforts me like a blanket. I wish I could stay here forever, 'cause in this moment I am untouched. The light that covers the earth shimmers through me, connecting me into a deeper trance of appreciation. I am grateful. I need this self-care. To me, it feels right. And maybe this is something I've neglected over the years. Taking time to pause, to reflect, to let my soul heal. It seems clear to me that we've been misguided for so long. We hold on to things instead of releasing. You must open up that bottle and read what's inside. Poetry is one of the more interesting things to me that's out there. I think it can be used as a form of meditation, just because when you go through it, when you write down what you're feeling, there's this sense of transformation and balance and healing and stillness that's accompanied with the feeling that you have after, like once you're done, when you're done writing. And I just think it's such a beautiful art form, and I really miss doing it. I used to have a pretty consistent schedule of doing it last year, and then at some point I just kind of quit doing it. Poetry, it's like creative writing, and to me it was like you never really knew where you were going to go with your words and what you wanted to talk about. So usually, like, how I've been attacking it lately is I may be thinking about an idea throughout my day, and or like a certain theme, or maybe I'm having a tough time dealing with an emotion. Like one time earlier, last week, I was dealing with anger, and there was like three different sources of what was causing my anger. So I tried to explore that emotion through poetry. And like I said, it's just really interesting because you may have something that you want to address when you're writing, but when you do poetry, it's just kind of like a free for all. And I think your brain is trying to make associations and make connections. And so through that, you kind of go through this really interesting process. By the end of, I usually just give myself a page to write through. And once you come to the end of that page, you're like, dang, like what the heck was that? Where'd that come from? And I think a lot of it is just, it's a part of something that's deeper within you that needs to be addressed. And that's why it feels almost like when you start writing in a poetic form, a creative form, you almost feel like you're getting taken over by something else. That's the beautiful thing about creativity, is like no one's really been able to pinpoint what creativity is. Um, I'm a creative person. It's something that just kind of comes and goes, that you have to work with. Like you can never really control your creativity. You can only hope that you are in possession of that creativity more often than not. And that's why, like, a lot of creatives get in creative ruts and stuff like that. And I think the purpose, again, of creativity is to just let it come and let it go. Like, it's not always going to be there, but when it is, you should ride that. Poetry and writing can certainly help your creativity, but you can't just manifest creativity out of nowhere. It's one of those weird, like, metaphysical things. If I want to go deeper into like the subject matter of the poem, I wrote this, I think, I went out to a Quabi one day, and I just literally pretty much sat there and observed kind of like the landscape of what was going on. And after I came home from being out there for about 2 or 3 hours, I wrote this poem just kind of about how I felt because I was out there. It's not like one of the most breathtaking places that you could go to on this earth, but it's so quiet out there because there was my car was out there, and then there was probably two other people in cars that had like parked them and went out on a walk or whatever they were deciding to do. And it's just amazing because you finally get this break from the chaos of like the natural world. I wouldn't even call it natural because it's not natural, it's unnatural. Like the phones, the constant movement of our world, like people are going from one thing to the next and they never take a break, they never take a pause. And when you finally decide to do that, like I've really been trying to, on top of doing the poetry and meditation, like you'll see, I've been trying to put my phone away and to not be distracted. And it's not even really to me about the screen time. I think you could be watching a movie or playing video games and be completely entranced by it, but the constant checking of the phone, like all the notifications that you get, and you have that thing attached to your hip, and each time you get a text, a Snapchat notification, something on Facebook, you check it without even thinking like what sort of precedence this phone has over the way that you interact with your day. Like it kind of does have somewhat of control on you, and it's kind of scary. And so this whole poem was just me kind of, I don't know, putting all of that stuff away and getting out and embracing the natural world, and it felt beautiful. Like it felt like this is something that I should be doing. But I think also on the flip side of that coin is there's also a lot of hesitation when I decide to go and do these things because of the fact that I am so used to running from point A to point B to point C to point D, da 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 da, all the letters of the alphabet. That's kind of how we treat our day. And so when you get out there or when you start putting your phone away doing meditation, poetry, like trying not to be distracted, you feel agitated because you've been so conditioned to just keep running, keep moving. And I think we all really need to take a step back and stop, get out of the machine, get out of the mechanisms that we have been operating in for the longest time and take a break. And just by doing that, just going out there, just being in nature, it was just a serene, beautiful moment. And I wish I could have spent more time out there. But again, after like, probably 2 or 3 hours, which I will commend myself because that's quite a long time in the winter. I just got agitated. I'm like, all right, we got to leave. We got to go do something else. But yeah, it's really beautiful. And although I don't like the cold, I think that during the winter time out here in Iowa and other states that get snow, that's probably the most beautiful part about it is when you have the sun coming down and you can just look out to the expanse of the universe and you just see snow that's like blanketing the earth. I think it's beautiful. But I don't know, I guess just upset with like the current like state of the world and like how things are going. And I've just really I've gotten so accustomed to living quote unquote like a lonely life. Like in my apartment, I live by myself, and I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and nothing really changes for me. Like I work a whole bunch, and then my last semester of college actually just recently started. So I think it's just about getting that routine in place, and that's what's going to make me feel better. But yeah, man, like I just there's been a lot of like frustration and like weird emotions that have arisen in me, and I'm really not even trying to fight them anymore. I'm just trying to distinguish, like how I feel about things. And I don't think it's bad to be lonely. Certainly don't be lonely for a long periods of time, but I've tried to tell myself recently that being lonely can actually be good in some sense. That I feel like all this time that I've been spending with myself has actually really allowed me to dig deep into myself and understand that like I still have some weaknesses. I mean, we all do. We all have insecurities, things that we can get better at. But I'm trying to really like address those and iron those out and find that individuality, because like often the world that we live in today, so many people get possessed by what society tells them they should have, or like what their friends are doing, culture. Like obviously that's a big part of like how I was raised and every other generation was raised. But I don't think a lot of people really think for themselves, and if anything, lately being lonely, being on my own, it's kind of become a superpower, and I've tried to give myself just a different perspective of looking at it and saying like this is actually probably going to be really good for me because I want to find friends, I want to find a girl, I want to find all these things, but like I shouldn't have to rush it. Like if I really just take care of myself, and who knows how long this is going to be, but if I really just focus on myself from here on out, those things will find me along the way and they're going to be good for me. I feel like the universe has made it a point to tell me recently that, hey, dude, quit fucking worrying, man. You're going to be fine. So that's all that I really have to say on this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cole Poots. Trying to get more podcasts out there, so you can also come check that out.
This is like the worst place in the world to take shit.